This is part 2 of day 1 of the poisoned husband murder trial. If you haven't been following the case, I'll give you a recap. As always, please, major trigger warning. Kouri Richins is currently facing murder charges as well as attempted murder charges for allegedly taking the life of her husband, Eric, in March of 2022. According to the prosecution, her business was struggling. She owed over $4 million and was not able to pay the debt that she had. However, if she divorced Eric, she wouldn't get anything because she signed a prenup. But if he passed, she was under the impression that she would get everything, including multiple life insurance policies that would allow her to start a fresh life. The defense is stating that is not correct. She knew that Eric had in fact put all of his assets in a trust where his sister was going to manage everything. And well, she did not want him to pass. She had nothing to do with his death, and there is zero proof showing that other than circumstantial evidence. Let's get into the defense's opening statements. Now, the defense plays the 911 call. If you listen to it, let me know what you think. She does not sound broken. She goes on to state that Eric and Kouri Richins were celebrating because they were getting ready to close on the biggest real estate deal she's ever done. She was actually purchasing a multi-million-dollar home that was abandoned before it was completed. They were going to update it and then flip it and essentially make over $2 million. And Eric was also an investor, so he was going to benefit from that sale. Now, she goes on to state that Eric made $700,000 a year. They were very well off, and they were able to do a lot of things due to Eric's business. She had no reason to take that from him or to take his life. She goes on to state that they've had tough years. They've gone through marriage counseling for weeks, and the fact of the matter is that before he died, they were at their happiest. He was texting her. They showed multiple text messages because he was interested in spending time with her. In fact, that day, he sends her a text message saying, let's have a celebratory shot. He even wanted to have lunch and all of that, but she had a lot of stuff going on with her closing. At 9:30, she states that she heard a child, one of their kids, that suffers from night terrors. So she went to sleep with him. They had taken a shot, and she had made already a Moscow Mule for him to drink. Now, his friend, according to the defense, is going to share that he spoke to him around 10 o'clock at night, which is about an hour after he had that drink. He was perfectly fine. He didn't notice anything different. That Eric checked his phone around 10:30 p.m. as well. But that also, she goes on to share that it is known that Eric was always checking her phone multiple times throughout the day, and that we now understand why. When police arrive after, the whole 911 incident, they did find an empty pill bottle in the nightstand that was already expired. He had actually been dead for a few hours at the time of their arrival. She goes on to share that the entire time that this case has been investigated, she has never once changed her story. In fact, the police recorded her conversations a year after trying to find some type of evidence. Her story stayed the same. And the fact of the matter is that he ingested a fatal dose of fentanyl. Now, what's interesting about all of this, is something I didn't know, is that the matter of death, the ME, still put it as unknown. She says that the ME could have put homicide. There's multiple reasons. I believe there's 6 reasons total for a cause of death. But he put unknown because there is zero evidence of how this fentanyl ended up getting in his bloodstream. She then shares that she could have told the police he was addicted to pills, but she didn't want everyone to know. She knew an autopsy was going to happen because it was discussed that night. She never again changed her story. However, Eric's family could not accept that the reason why he died. They needed someone to blame for losing someone they love. No family ever wants to believe that behind closed doors, their loved one is on drugs or using drugs. The family's need to make sense of what happened to Eric went way beyond what you would expect from a normal grieving family. As a detective arrived at the house, so she calls 911, the EMTs come, police arrive. And even before the police officer or the detective has any opportunity to go into the home at this time, they had no idea what happened to him. They had just wheeled him off. The sisters automatically stop said detective, tell him that Kouri probably did this before they even found out what happened, before even going inside of the house. The sister had shared with this detective that Eric had put all of the assets in a trust and that she, as the sister, was going to manage. That apparently Kouri knew about this. So the defense states if she knew about this, then she already knew that if he passed, she was not going to get anything essentially, and she would need to go to litigation to work on his trust and to fight the sister. They then hire a private investigator and paid almost $100,000 trying to see what he could come up with, even though the state had all of the evidence that they needed. That he went over a lot of stuff, found things that she's not proud of, personal information that the state has turned into entertainment. She says that at the end of the day, what happens in a marriage behind closed doors, a lot of it is not shared with family members. A lot of things that the family was unaware of that Eric was doing. The examiner, again, left and provided, as I mentioned, the whole not undetermined, right? So they have no idea. What they do know is that they started going through her businesses. So at this point, they did the autopsy. It came back that it was unknown. And this investigator they paid $100,000 to starts looking into her businesses, even from years ago. She said none of this has anything to do with the 6 hours that between the time that he died. None of it proves anything in relation to his death. Why would she poison her husband, for example, when they charged her with attempted murder on Valentine's Day, if she knew that that same day, just a couple hours after he ingested that sandwich, he was supposed to drive his kids to soccer? He was a man that suffered from a lot of pain because he was very active. He was a hunter. He hiked. He did a lot of things. Well, he always pushed through. Why would she assume that he wasn't going to push through this time depending on how he felt? He still took the kids to soccer even if supposedly she had poisoned him. She also brings up the fact that he had even joked about that with her friend about how he had an allergic reaction to and that he even had a specialist weeks before because he was having allergy issues. Now, they go on to talk about the fact that this family was obsessed to find what Kouri had done, if anything, to Eric. At every single time the investigator provided details, the investigator was also in contact with the state. He was providing them with witnesses, with just evidence of her business, trying to come up with a theory of who took his life, or if Kouri took his life, why she did it. But at the end of the day, in the next few weeks, while they are going to destroy her credibility, destroy who she is, the fact of the matter is that the state has zero evidence that she did anything. All of it is circumstantial. Let's go into the witnesses in the next video. The first witness is actually going to be her dad, then the sister that is managing the trust. Talk to you soon.